One of the most popular comments on this channel goes something like, "I'd rather have AI as president than Trump." And yeah, I totally get it. There are a lot of times that we've all thought there's no way it could get any worse, and then he goes and drops another ridiculous claim or signs some kind of wild order, and you're definitely not alone in your thoughts. But let's be honest here. The Republican Party is not going anywhere, and the MAGA base isn't disappearing anytime soon. So then that leaves the question, is it actually possible to fix everything that he's done, given where things stand right now? So that's what we're going to get into today. I'm going to put AI straight into Trump's head and let it try to fix the mess, but with one important rule. It can't just hit reset and undo everything, because that would be way too easy. ChatGPT has to act like Trump's still in charge, and it's got to make real changes without setting off the Republicans or the MAGA crowd. Basically, just quietly clean up without making it look like a cleanup, and honestly, it could get really interesting. So stick around until the end to see how everything plays out. But before we get into that, a huge thanks to everyone who's already subscribed. If you're new here, then welcome. The channel just hit its first birthday, and we're so close to 100,000 subscribers. So if you haven't hit that button yet, now would be the perfect time, and I seriously appreciate the support. Alright, thanks again, and now let's get into the video. Here we are. First, I just needed to gather up all the latest information on Donald Trump to make sure it's fully up to date, and right after that, we'll get started. Alright, ChatGPT's ready. Now it needs to be clear, straightforward, not exactly unbiased, since I literally asked it to fix something, but you get the idea. Let's break it down into two parts, domestic and foreign policy. That way, we'll get two detailed responses from ChatGPT. First up, what would it actually do in Trump's shoes on domestic policy at this point? And here we go. Alright, I'm Donald Trump. It's June 2025. I'm in the White House, and I've already stirred up a hornet's nest with tariffs, immigration orders, inspector general firings, and a bunch of flashy executive actions that got my base cheering, but the country wobbly. Now I've got to quietly start fixing the mess without looking weak or like I've flipped. Here's exactly what I do on domestic policy. First, the tariffs. They're killing small businesses, choking supply chains, and pushing prices up, and my base is starting to feel it. Farmers, truckers, contractors, small-town manufacturers, they're grumbling, even if they won't say it loud. I can't just remove the tariffs because that would look like surrender, so I'd get my team to refine them. Quiet carve-outs, adjust the harmonized tariff schedule, bring down the rate on industrial parts, materials, and food products, and keep the flashier tariffs on things like Chinese EVs and steel. I'd say I'm cracking down harder on finished goods while rewarding American job creators. It's a lie, but the optics are right. Nobody reads the fine print on trade law. I'd let the market breathe without admitting I was suffocating it. Next, the economy more broadly. Inflation is creeping, investment is shaky, and job growth is slowing. I need a stimulus, but I can't call it that. So I'd roll out a Patriot Infrastructure Initiative, making it sound like a second coming of Eisenhower. Roads, bridges, ports, but also broadband and housing in red counties. Funnel the first wave of contracts into GOP-led states to signal strength to the base while fixing the real problems. Quietly work with governors to prioritize projects that actually help stabilize jobs, even if they don't make headlines. I'd work with Congress to throw in a few tax perks, not new cuts, but targeted credits for hiring, equipment upgrades, and rural development zones. Say it's to fight China economically, but really it's to stop economic bleeding at home. Now the DOJ. The Justice Department is a mess. I fired too many watchdogs, and now people are asking questions. I can't just reverse that overnight without looking weak, so I stop the bleeding. No more purges, no more loyalty tests. I bring in career professionals, not flashy names, just competent, steady people who won't make headlines but will clean things up behind the scenes. I let them do their jobs without interference. No pressure for political investigations, no demands for loyalty. Just let the system function again, because the longer it stays broken, the more unstable everything else becomes. For the base, I keep talking about fairness, about law and order, about how I've restored trust in DOJ by removing the bad actors. I don't admit I created the problem, I say I fixed it. That's the angle. I don't call it a retreat, I call it reform. And over time, as DOJ gets its footing back, as the leaks slow down, as people stop freaking out every time they hear Justice Department, I win some quiet respect. Not from the diehard haters, I'll never get them, but from the people in the middle who just want things to work again. On immigration, the base loves the noise, but the business wing hates the disruption. I already tried ending birthright citizenship and got blocked. Fine, let the courts take the hit. I'll pivot. Put all focus on deporting criminal illegals. Pump those numbers, cherry-pick the scary stories, and highlight it constantly. Meanwhile, I'd quietly expand legal work visas for industries that are hurting, especially agriculture and construction. Just don't talk about it publicly. Frame it as a skills-based pilot program. MAGA won't notice. They care about the wall and the crime headlines. Let the Chamber of Commerce types get what they want while I feed the base red meat. Public broadcasting? I already gutted it, made the headlines, pleased the base, but now I start patching it up without drawing attention. I don't say I'm funding NPR or PBS again, that's political side. Instead, I launch a community media grant program for rural and educational content, framed as support for states and local storytelling. Quietly restore funding streams under a different name. Nobody cares about the fine print, and the base never reads the budget. Education and foreign students? Different issue, same blowback. I proposed a cap on foreign students at elite schools. Bad call. It backfired with donors and tech leaders. Quietly pause that. Say we're reviewing university accountability standards and let it die. Behind the scenes, I let the student flow return to normal. That revenue matters, and I need Silicon Valley cash to stop drying up. Finally, healthcare and safety net stuff. I don't touch Medicare or Social Security, not if I want to keep Florida, but I look for low-profile ways to cut waste. Audits, fraud claims, efficiency panels. I don't actually cut benefits, I just pretend I'm making them more accountable. If anything, I increase funding to veteran services and make a big patriotic show of it. Let the rest coast quietly. That's the play. Fix just enough to stop the bleeding, keep the headlines loud and the corrections quiet. Make small, smart changes that help stabilize the country, but never admit anything went wrong. Always act like it was the plan from day one. That's how I clean up without the base ever realizing I'm mopping up my own mess. Wow, that sounds like a solid plan, but let's be honest, even though ChatGPT played it careful, there's no way that Trump would ever actually go along with something like that. Alright, up next, ChatGPT is going to lay out its own plan for the foreign policy. China, NATO, Trump's buddy Putin, and everything beyond the US borders. But before we move on, if you haven't given the video a thumbs up, go ahead and do that now. Feel free to share it and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, because it all helps the channel a whole lot and lets me keep on making brand new videos every single week. Thank you so much, and now let's get to the next part. Alright, so now let's see what ChatGPT would do with foreign policy in Donald Trump's shoes. And here's the answer. Foreign policy is a tightrope now. I've said a lot, done a lot, and shaken things up, but now I've got to steer it in a direction that actually works without looking like I'm going soft, without giving my base any reason to think I flipped, and without setting off another global mess. Let's start with China. I don't back down, but I don't escalate either. I stop with the headline punches and start working behind the scenes. Quiet talks, low-key negotiations. I send in people who understand leverage. Not the loudest ones, the smartest ones. We look for deals that bring prices down here at home without making it look like I'm giving Beijing anything. I still call them out when I need to, still talk tough when the cameras are on, but the actual moves, calibrated. Focused on trade balance, not drama. NATO's a different game. I don't talk about saving NATO, I don't praise it on a podium, but I start showing that I'm taking it seriously. Bilateral meetings, defense coordination, tighter intelligence sharing. I act like I'm reorganizing the team, not joining someone else's. Publicly, I talk about fairness, about making sure everyone pays their share. Privately, I make sure the alliances stay strong, because if they crack, it's not Europe that pays first, it's us. Ukraine? Even my base is starting to shift. They're seeing Russia for what it is, the reason this war keeps dragging on. So here's the move. It's a safe play to just say I'm restoring new funding at this point, not because I love foreign wars, but because it's the only way to finish this one. Then I hit Russia with brutal sanctions, not just symbolic ones, full pressure, financial chokeholds, secondary sanctions on banks, shipping, tech, the whole package the Republican Party's already teasing. I push it hard, get them isolated, force them to the table, and I don't let up until there's a real plan to end the war. And Putin? I stop the public praise and step away from the personal rhetoric. Russia under his leadership doesn't get to return to business as usual. It stays cut off from the global economy, treated with the same caution and distance as regimes like North Korea or Iran. We don't reward aggression just because the shooting stops. Until there's real change at the top, Russia remains isolated, not out of spite, but out of necessity. On Israel, I stay all in. The second I don't, we lose the whole region. But behind closed doors, I push hard. I press Netanyahu directly to stop bombing dense civilian areas in Gaza. I tell him to find another way to take out Hamas, one that doesn't turn the whole world against him or drag the US into another endless crisis. Quiet conversations, no cameras, no speeches, just pressure where it counts. And finally, I stop the chaos diplomacy. No more late-night social media threats, no more swings at allies and enemies like they're the same. I let the professionals handle the groundwork, and I keep the message simple. America's back in charge. I don't say we're leading the world, I just act like we are, and that's enough. And, yeah, I'm pretty sure ChatGPT isn't going to try and take over Greenland or make Canada the 51st state. Maybe it just figured out it was too ridiculous to even mention. Alright, one last question before we wrap things up. Is there any chance that Trump actually acts even just a little bit like ChatGPT did? Honestly, no, not really. Trump's entire political identity is built on doubling down, never admitting fault, and constantly staying in campaign mode. Most of what I laid out, stabilizing the DOJ, easing trade tensions quietly, applying behind-the-scenes pressure, dropping the praise for Putin, would require subtlety, restraint, long-term thinking, and letting other people take the lead sometimes. That's not how he operates. Could he technically make a few of these moves if boxed in? Maybe, but would he ever stick to a disciplined, quiet course correction without blowing it up on Truth Social the next day? Highly unlikely. Alright, that's it. Now get down in the comments below and let me know. Is this what you had in mind when you said you wanted ChatGPT as president? Also, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and check out the links in the description if you'd like to support the channel directly. After that, be sure to click on this video where I let AI predict Trump's next moves based on Project 2025. I'm pretty sure that most of those predictions are gonna come true. Thanks for watching, click on that video, and I'll see you there in just a moment.